Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Live from the Wrist. Hope you are doing well today. We're going to be taking a look at a vintage watch. We're looking at a Universal Genève Monodatic from the 1950s from Universal Genève. Universal Genève produced a ton of different pieces that I think are probably a little bit more iconic than the Monodatics or Monodates that they produced. But I do think this is a really beautiful example of this lineup of watches in pretty good condition, and I really love sort of the dial aesthetics of this piece. I think it's quite mesmerizing to look at, and maybe a little bit unusual in some circumstances. So really excited to jump into this piece with you. We'll have a link, we'll have an article on our website, so if you want to read more about this piece, be sure to head over to livefromthewrist.com and you can check out a little bit more about this specific watch. But without further ado, let me flip perspectives so you can take a look at this watch. Alright, so very excited to show you a new watch that I have for the website and the YouTube channel. It's a little bit off the beaten path when it comes to Universal Genève, but what we have today, and I'm going to focus on this watch here, is a Universal Genève Monodatic, or Monodatic. When you think of Universal Genève, I think the first thing that really comes to mind is Universal Genève chronographs. If you're thinking about the vintage side of Universal Genève, I think the first thing that really comes to mind is Universal Genève chronographs, and then I think a watch that also comes to mind is the Universal Genève Polerouters. I think those are really the two watches that I think get most of the airtime when it comes to the brand sort of vintage lineup of watches. But Universal Genève did produce a lot of other really beautiful pieces, and I think this Monodatic is a great example of just that. So I'll zoom out again just so that you can see it here. So this Universal Genève is from the 1950s. The Monodatic is a watch that they've produced starting in the 1950s and used a pretty well-known caliber that was also used in the Universal Genève Polerouters that all of us really love. So I'll get into that in a little bit, but essentially what you're looking at is a 36mm gold-capped watch. The case of this watch has some really amazing lugs, as you can see on the side here. They stick out really nicely and kind of, I think, give the watch a really nice, if you kind of just look at the dial itself, I think gives it a really beautiful look to it. If you put this on some sort of leather strap, I think the lugs become a lot more pronounced, but I've got it on this stretch bracelet. So gold-capped, gold-toned case. If you look at the case back, it is stainless steel with the Universal Genève markings on it right there, as you can see. And it's on this sort of gold-toned stretch bracelet. Lug width of 18mm, so fits a lot of the vintage straps that you probably have. If you look at the dial of the watch, you've got this really beautiful sort of silver-white dial. You then have almost like a two-tone set here with, I'll set it up here so then we can just zoom in on it a little bit here. Bear with me as I zoom, and then make sure we have the right focus for you. Be able to see this really beautiful piece. Just give me 1 second, I'll move the hands so that we can get it in a nice position so that you can see. So what you've got here, there we go, is this cream white dial that you can see right here with these sort of dots that give this almost like a two-tone dial. You have gold hour markers that are applied that match the gold hours and minutes hands. You have a numeral at 6 o'clock, a numeral at 12 o'clock that I think really look quite nicely. You then actually have this sort of depreciated sub-seconds dial at 6 o'clock with this short blued hand, which I think is really nice. You then have a date complication here that has a circular window. I don't recall a lot of watches with circular windows like this, and so I thought this was quite unique for the design of this specific watch. As you can see, the date is in red, but it actually has a roulette wheel date, so you have both black and red text. I'll just put it on the side so you can see. The thickness of the watch is not the thinnest. I think even if you could maybe put a watch like this next to it, you can see quite similar. Here's an Omega, so a little bit thicker. I think most of it is coming from the that top crystal. As I mentioned, this watch was manufactured in the 1950s. The movement that is in this watch is the caliber 138C. This is a bumper movement that was manufactured by Universal Genève in the 1950s. The movement was actually only manufactured for 1 year because it was then replaced by another movement, which sort of like took its place after that. It was replaced with the caliber 215 in a lot of the pieces. But what you have here is a bumper movement. So essentially what it is instead of being able to rotate 360 degrees, it's an automatic movement that has springs on each side, which only allow the sort of rotor to oscillate at a 160 degree angle or 180 degree angle. As I mentioned, this movement was used in both Monodatics and the Universal Genève Polerouters, which I think shows the significance of the movement to the history of the brand. If I was to call out just a couple of things that I think are really beautiful about this specific watch, I'd say the first thing that I really love is the overall case design. Like I mentioned, it's 36 millimeters, but these lugs stick out quite nicely and I think make it look really beautiful. I also think the unique date complication at 3 o'clock, having a circular window, is really beautiful. And then overall, I just think the proportions of the sub-seconds dial. I really love the sort of circles that are created by these dots on the dial, which give it an overall really nice look to it. If I put it on my wrist so you can see sort of how it fits, you can see that the lugs go out quite nicely. I'll put a watch next to it just so you can compare, but you can see fits really nicely. It's on a gold stretch bracelet, but I personally would probably put this on some sort of brown strap. I think it does the watch a lot more justice in those cases. So I'll give you a little bit of a close-up here, just so you can see the overall look here, which I think is honestly second to none. So a really beautiful piece. These are not as sought after as maybe Polerouters or some of the chronographs that Universal Genève produced, but I do think it's a unique part of the Universal Genève sort of history and the watches that they were able to produce. With that said, I'll flip perspectives so we can close out the video. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at this Universal Genève Monodatic. As I mentioned, the Polerouters and chronographs, tri-compaxes and uni-compaxes from Universal Genève are a little bit more popular than Monodatics, but I do think that bringing to light the other pieces that Universal Genève made is extremely important, and I hope you enjoyed taking a look at this piece with me. If you want to read more about this watch, there is an article on lifeonthewrist.com if you want to check that out. There will also be, this is also on our store, so if you want to check out some more images of this watch, it is over on our website, so be sure to head over there. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this piece, and I would love to hear from you if you want to reach out to us on any of our social media accounts. There'll be links in the description of this video, and you can just search for Life on the Wrist. We'll be there on any of the social media platforms. If you are new to Life on the Wrist, be sure to hit the subscribe button and share this with a friend who might be interested in watches. Love to have them part of the Life on the Wrist family. And with this said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time.